Okay, so imagine this. A high school friendship, right? And then there's a chaperoned date. Sounds pretty ordinary. But suddenly, 4 lives just intertwine. And it leads to these really remarkable, far-reaching successes.
Yeah?
That's the fascinating story we're diving into today. We're going to explore how these 4 individuals, Marion, Vernon, Mary Margaret, and Arlen, first met, and then look at their, honestly, impressive but very different accomplishments.
And what's really compelling, I think, is how these, initial connections, which seem so everyday, actually set the stage for some extraordinary professional paths.
Exactly.
So our deep dive today, our mission, if you like, is to pull out the key insights from their careers, see how each one made a real mark, from trailblazing in law to developing space technology and even community advocacy.
And their paths definitely went in different directions, sometimes quite dramatically. But the impact they had, undeniable. We'll be focusing maybe a bit more on Marion, Mary Margaret, and Vernon, just given, the documented details we have. But we'll definitely touch on Arlen, too. So this origin story, it's kind of wild, isn't it?
It really is.
Marion meets Vernon. Why? Because her best friend from high school, Mary Margaret, needs a chaperone for a date with Arlen.
You couldn't make it up, really.
Who knew that chaperoning could kickstart all this? And get this, all 4 of them actually dated for a bit after that first meeting.
Oh, okay.
And then later on, Marion and Vernon got married, and so did Mary Margaret and Arlen. And both couples stayed married for, over 12 years before they eventually divorced.
So those initial connections ran pretty deep for a while.
They did. And this whole sort of simple social setup, it led to lifelong links for some of them, and for all 4, it acted as this really unexpected launchpad for some seriously impactful careers.
Absolutely. Let's start with Marion McDaniel Sturdivant Musser. She became a really distinguished attorney and, frankly, a trailblazer in Texas law.
A trailblazer, yeah.
She built this incredible career during a time when women were just massively underrepresented in the legal field. Makes her achievements even more significant,
Definitely. And her work in state government, that really stands out.
It does.
She served as an Assistant Attorney General V for the state of Texas, working mostly out of Austin. And that V's designation, for anyone listening, that indicates a senior legal counsel role.
Right, a high level of responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. It shows her expertise within the state's legal system. She spent most of her career serving Texas in that role. A huge commitment to public service.
And beyond that state service, which was extensive, she also had her own private law practice for a time.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it really showed her versatility, her entrepreneurial side, too. Not just a government lawyer, but someone who could carve her own path.
And we have to talk about the context, right? The time she was doing this.
Crucial context.
She started her legal career in 1977, and back then the legal world was, overwhelmingly male.
Massively so.
Think about it, 1970, only about 8,000 women attorneys in the whole U.S. That's 8.6%.
Tiny.
It grew, sure, to maybe 27,000 by 1980, but Marion was starting right in that earlier, tougher phase. Women lawyers then faced, real discrimination in hiring, limited chances to move up.
And just societal assumptions, right? About their competence, their commitment.
Exactly. Lots of firms even had, unspoken quotas. So, yeah, Marion was absolutely a pioneer. Her career just shows how strong conviction plus grace and grit can break down barriers. Even in these really established professions, she paved the way.
And her whole professional outlook was grounded in this unwavering belief in justice, fairness, the power of law for good.
Yeah.
Her passion for advocacy came across with both grace and determination. Powerful mix. And she was a lifelong Democrat, deeply committed, politically, campaigned, debated, worked hard for democracy, voting rights.
So her legal mind connected to broader civic duty.
Absolutely. People described her as tenacious, strong-willed, driven.
A fighter.
A fighter, yeah. Stood up for her beliefs. And outside work. An avid reader. Loved mysteries, legal thrillers, always learning, always studious.
Her legacy is just huge. More than just a successful lawyer. She genuinely helped open doors for the women who came after her in law. A major contribution to women's advancement in Texas law, public service, really an inspiration. Okay, so from the courtroom's tenacity, let's shift gears completely to the, precise world of engineering with Vernon Ray Sturdivant.
Big shift.
His work was in space exploration at NASA's Manned Spacecraft Center, now Johnson Space Center, and also at Southwest Research Institute, SORI.
Right.
And he focused on something incredible, measuring and simulating human metabolic rates for spacecraft life support. and training
It sounds
systems.
like sci-fi, doesn't it? But totally real, totally vital work keeping astronauts safe up there.
Absolutely critical stuff. Vernon's main contributions were, well, fundamental for human safety in space.
He was a co-author on the final report for the Metabolic Rate Measurement System, the MRMS. That was for NASA back in '69.
Hmm.
He and his team, they designed and built this two-person metabolic simulator. Think of it like a machine that could perfectly mimic an astronaut's body functions.
Like breathing, CO2 output.
Exactly. Oxygen use, ventilation, humidity, heat output, all of it, for up to 8 different crew metabolic profiles.
Wow.
And really clever part, they integrated a real-time computer control system. It calculated and regulated gas flows, humidity, thermal loads, all based on these empirical metabolic equations.
So super precise.
Super precise. And crucially, this new system got rid of the older combustion-based simulators, which made testing life support systems much, much safer and more accurate. Higher fidelity, they called it.
So just thinking about that, what was the hardest part? Mimicking human functions that accurately for space? Sounds incredibly complex.
Oh, the complexity was immense. He was integrating all those variables, biological engineering, into one system that could react in real time,
Right.
dynamically.
Right.
And Vernon's work went further into the modular transducer and electromechanical subsystem design, basically the architecture for the sensors and systems.
Okay.
He helped select and calibrate these specialized sensors for mass flow, gas analysis, humidity, temperature sensors that could handle the tough spacecraft environment. He also designed a blower system with feedback control for precise airflow, matching simulated breathing rates.
So this allowed SRI to build a whole test facility for NASA.
Exactly, a turnkey facility for qualifying life support systems. And it didn't stop there. His methods for simulating life support were groundbreaking. They formed the basis for later work, predicting astronaut metabolic rates during spacewalks EVAs.
Extravehicular activity.
Right. His work laid the foundation for the linear heart rate to metabolic rate models they still use today in EVA planning for risk mitigation.
So what's the takeaway for us listening? What does this all mean?
Well, Vernon's meticulous engineering really shows that human safety in extreme places, like space, relies heavily on precise, data-driven simulation.
That makes sense.
It's a key principle, not just in space, but any high-risk, life-critical system, really. His innovations pushed human life support testing forward in a big way, gave NASA these high-fidelity simulators, data models that still help keep crews safe today.
Literally helping keep astronauts alive. Breathing, temperature regulation, doing their jobs on some of humanity's biggest adventures. Amazing. Okay, now let's move from space engineering to the broad scope of public service with Mary Margaret Sturdivant.
Another fascinating life.
Yeah, a really impressive dedication to community service over, well, decades. She was born in 1937, passed away just recently in 2024 at 86, left quite a legacy.
She really did. Her political career started pretty early in her adult life. She was councilwoman for Ward 4 in Clarksville, Texas, active in city government there from '79 to '80.
So starting local.
Exactly, a clear sign of her commitment early on. Then in 1982, she won a big political race, elected Red River County Democratic chairman.
Oh.
It was apparently a close one, too. Her win really established her as a key leader for the Democrats in that county. Showed she could rally support, lead politically.
But one of her biggest achievements, maybe the one showing her lifelong commitment best, was serving in the Texas Silver-Haired Legislature, the TSHL.
Right, the TSHL, from 2013 to 2015, representing the Arctex area. And this was well into her later years.
That's amazing. What exactly is the TSHL?
It's actually a really interesting nonpartisan group. 123 representatives, elected by older Texans folks 60 and up, specifically to advocate for their rights.
So she was directly working on issues affecting seniors.
Directly. She served on 2 key committees, Health and Human Resources and Election and Credentials. Her work there directly influenced laws for seniors, made a real difference.
And that wasn't her only role, right?
No. Earlier on, she was also a CETA director in Clarksville. That's the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act. She gave talks at community events working on employment opportunities.
So a consistent thread of service.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's striking is that continued commitment right through her life. Mary Margaret's story, I think, reminds us that real public service isn't just about one high office or one specific age. It's about that consistent, decades-long drive to make your community better.
Yeah, it's clear she was just deeply invested. From city government to state-level advocacy for seniors, always working for the people of Red River County in Northeast Texas, a life dedicated to public service. Okay, finally, let's briefly touch on Dr. Arlen Young Sturdivant. He played a really significant long-term role as a family doctor in rural Texas.
Indeed. Dr. Arlen Sturdivant, a board-certified family physician, his career spanned over 5 decades in East Texas, a real pillar of rural health.
5 decades is incredible.
It really is. He combined clinical skill with community leadership and this deep commitment to healthcare in rural areas. Started his private practice in family medicine in Carthage, Texas, way back in 1975. Stayed until he retired, focused on lifelong care for his patients.
And he worked with local hospitals, too.
Oh, yes. Affiliated with regional hospitals, providing everything inpatient, outpatient, obstetrics, emergency services to Panola County, often filling crucial gaps in healthcare access for people who might not otherwise get it. He actually established one of the very first private family practices in Carthage.
Expanding access, yeah?
Exactly. He was active professionally, too. Served on the Panola County Medical Society Executive Committee, pushed for continuing education, quality standards in rural practice.
And involved in the community beyond medicine.
Definitely. Rotary Club, Chamber of Commerce initiatives, public health education, vaccination clinics, senior wellness programs. He even volunteered for medical mission trips to Central America. And mentored new doctors as a preceptor for the Texas Tech residency program.
Wow, really dedicated. Was his work recognized?
Oh, absolutely. He received awards like the Longevity Award for over 25 years of practice, a Volunteer Physician Award, a Community Service Award, all reflecting his impact on health access and quality in rural Panola County.
It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many lives does one dedicated rural doctor like that touch over 50 years?
Exactly. His legacy shows how consistent, compassionate service in a fundamental profession like medicine can profoundly shape the health, the well-being of an entire community for generations.
So when we connect all these threads, Marion, Vernon, Mary Margaret, Arlen.
Yeah, looking at the bigger picture, their stories really show how these seemingly personal connections, like that chaperone date we started with,
Right.
can spark these incredibly public contributions
Right.
across completely different fields to law, space, public service, medicine. It's just a powerful reminder that society's fabric is woven from these intricate, often unexpected human links.
This deep dive really shows you, doesn't it, how the personal and the professional can just weave together to create this remarkable legacy. It's not always about some grand master plan from day one.
Not at all.
Sometimes the most influential relationships, the ones that set you on a path, start in the simplest ways and become the foundation for a lifetime of impact. Makes you wonder how many other pivotal moments, big success stories, started with something just as ordinary, like meeting a chaperone.
It really does. So maybe a thought to leave you with. As you go about your day, think about the people you meet, maybe in unexpected ways, unexpected circumstances. You just never know. They might be the ones who intersect with or even help shape your own future contributions and successes.